Hello and welcome to this edition of the Clinical Strategy Explained Live. I'm Paul Gisby. In this edition we're talking about the design remit process. For the discussion I was joined by three people who've been key members of the workstream developing the thinking on how we should undertake design within clinical. Now I'd like to explore this idea of expert integration a bit further. To do this, if I could bring in Steve Ryan, Steve who's joining us from Mondal today. Steve, clearly there's no more important area of expertise that we must call on than patient safety. So I wonder, with your patient safety hat on, can you give us your perspective on this concept?
To come back to your theme, Paul, about what's different and how does it make a difference, we've already got experts trying to integrate experts in our current model. So what's different that's going to make a difference? To me, there are actually numerous aspects of the model that make a difference, but let me point out two or three of them.
Let me get this right, Andrew. Are you saying that we're looking for a bit of a culture shift here from maybe where teams have their own resident expert that they've got, if you like, embedded in their project, to more of a community of expertise that you draw upon as you need that expertise at a particular point?
That's the vision. And clearly, human nature being human nature, there are challenges to that way of working.
Given those qualities you're talking about, the whole and the holistic approach, and you're hoping in the team that you've chosen, you've got those. Will you be monitoring their performance? I mean, will you be holding them accountable to that as we go through the future?
Yes, very clearly so. But that does not only apply to those who have been newly selected into roles, because we do something that is very, very important to mankind and to society.
Yes, Karin, but all pharmaceutical company clinical departments would probably say exactly the same thing. Why are we going to be any different?
Well, I think still that is the foundation, and that is a highly motivating factor for myself, and I'm sure for many of our staff. That's why I started at that end. So let me not shy away from your question. So why should people be joining clinical?
Now, I understand then in these, as we'll call them, individual capabilities, there are three clusters, one of which we'll be very familiar with already, because that's the leadership capabilities. But then there are going to be two other clusters. Could you talk us through what they are?
Yeah, absolutely. And the first thing to say is capabilities aren't a new concept.
Okay, well, let me just test that question with Anne and Christina, because, you guys are going to be living these things very soon. You're both CPDs, so they're going to be part of your own development. And I know that you've got various experiences of using capabilities in the past for individual assessment in line functions and in project settings. And what do you think? Confusing or simplifying? Anne?
Yes, well, simplistically, if you look at going from 6 leadership capabilities to including another 12, it really does look confusing, but you only tend to focus on 2 or 3.
Thank you to you all. And that brings us to the end of this podcast. I'd like to thank the panel, and I'd like to thank you for listening. I'm Paul Gisby. Goodbye.